What is up, Pokemon trainers? Welcome back to Bros and Badges, our daily podcast. This is like the fourth or fifth time I've done this intro. I keep messing it up, so I'm just going to dive right in. Today, we are talking about Pokemon champions taking over the scene, and whether or not this is a good thing for games like Pokopia, XD Gale of Darkness, and Winds and Waves moving forward. Joe, tell us a little bit about this. You've had some good points. Pokemon champions is literally the zeitgeist right now. It's what everybody's talking about. But what has that done for the rest of the franchise, for all these other releases like Leaf Green, Fire Red? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What's happening?
Yeah, Zach, so as you know, I am very much in the hive mind of the average Pokemon fan. Like I'm online, I'm reading what people are talking about. I really just try to be in it. I love the community. And what I've noticed with Pokemon Champions is that ever since it's released, which has been quite some time from when this video is actually coming out, it seems to have just kind of completely taken over the consciousness of every Pokemon player. Now, I will say there are a few caveats, right? Pokopia, which was the previous large thing in the zeitgeist of video games in general. I mean, it's seated outside of the Pokemon circle. We're starting to see a lot less of it here. Although it does still have its cozy game kind of circles that it's still in. So it's still getting its updates. It's still getting its kind of love in its own circles. But for being an average Pokemon fan, we're not really seeing many people on that game, at least not as much as it was on release. So we kind of wanted to talk about, is Pokemon Champions kind of harming Pokemon in a sense? And I say this because even in our own kind of circle of creating Bros and Badges content, we've noticed that a lot of people are kind of straying away from something like playing XD Gale of Darkness or FireRed and Leaf Green. There's just less interest, and we even kind of ran a poll to see what people were into before Pokemon Champions dropped. And I do find it kind of interesting that if we were to drop that poll now and have Pokemon Champions, and I think it would kind of run away with the title. It does seem like this is kind of being treated as obviously it's not a main line. I don't want to say that before I get attacked, but obviously the way the community is looking at it is this is the next thing for Pokemon. It's not just like a mobile game, like when those release and they kind of gain their fans and they kind of have their own little section. This is really taking a huge part of the Pokemon fandom by storm. And as you alluded to in the intro, it kind of put me in the headspace of what is this going to do for Pokemon Winds and Waves when it comes out? I, for one, know a lot of people in my life that love competitive Pokemon, and they're kind of veering away from like, oh, I like Pokemon for the story or the vibes. Like, I just really want to get in there and play competitive. Now that Pokemon Champions is an option, I don't think as many people who are in that kind of world are going to get something like a Winds and Waves, because we already know going forward, Winds and Waves is not going to be used for something like VGC for competitive play. This is all going to be going into Pokemon Champions. So in a weird way, with Pokemon Champions release, although it's kind of getting everyone into the VGC scene, it also is very much isolating that brand of Pokemon player, right? The people who love the gameplay of Pokemon specifically, like the being able to beat someone because you outsmarted them with their plan, that exists in its own realm now. Pokemon Winds and Waves is in this interesting situation where it as a game needs to sell itself, because it's no longer the only place you can go to get that Pokemon competitive experience. We have a whole game for that, and it's free, right? Winds and Waves needs to go, you want to buy me not because we're just the next evolution of the Pokemon gameplay, but because the game here itself is interesting. So Game Freak is doing something really, I mean, hey, I hope they have it planned out, but they're doing something very different from what they usually do, where the reason someone gets a new Pokemon game is just because it's the next Pokemon game, right? Nobody's playing X and Y when Sun and Moon come out because that's where all the player base move. But now we have all the player base in Pokemon Champions. So when Winds and Waves comes out, like, yeah, obviously people are going to pick it up. It's going to sell like gangbusters. I'm not trying to like fearmonger the sales, but what I am saying is I do think we're in an interesting place where people aren't forced to buy it, those who otherwise wouldn't. Right. So I do wonder if they thought about this, especially knowing that Pokemon Champions is going to be an ever evolving game. I do wonder, are they taking that into account with sales? And if they are, maybe that's why Winds and Waves is getting so much like time to cook behind the scenes. Maybe they're like, you know what? We really have to put our best foot forward with this and really show like, hey, this isn't like anything else we've released. And Pokemon Champions, as fun as that will be in the months to come, like it's still nothing compared to Winds and Waves. So I'm at this crossroads of like Game Freak could either do something really cool with this, or they can let it flop. And again, this all kind of came to me because I realized, I'm looking at my Switch and I see all these Pokemon games that are dropping so close in proximity to each other. Pokopia, it's the Gale of Darkness, FireRed, Leaf Green, and I've noticed like Pokemon Champions is just eating up all that time. And I think it's that way for everybody else. But Zach, I specifically kind of want to pass this torch to you here. What do you think? Like, are you kind of seeing where I'm coming from? Does this negatively affect Winds and Waves for you, or are you still looking at, forward to that game as like the main Pokemon game?
I feel like I have a little bit of a different take, to be honest. I think that Winds and Waves, if I had to guess, I don't really think Winds and Waves will be negatively too affected. Mainly because, at least with what we've seen with Champions, they are going to like implement things from future games. Like that's what they've said, at least. And like they're going to continually pull from stuff. I think Winds and Waves, even though it won't take over the competitive scene, like VGC is where competitive scene is going to live, I think Winds and Waves is still going to introduce new Pokemon. It's going to introduce new items, new moves, new mechanics even. There probably will be at least one new mechanic in the game that I think they'll implement into Pokemon Champions. And then if you want a lot of those Pokemon from Winds and Waves, you're going to have to pick up Winds and Waves to get it. So I do still think there will be a bit of like competitive players feel like they need to play the game just to get more out of Champions, even if they are interested in Champions. I think it might negatively hurt it a little bit, but I don't see it negatively affecting it a lot. For me, Winds and Waves is still the premier Pokemon game because that's the type of Pokemon game I like playing, because I'm more of a like mainline series player as opposed to just like competitive. But I will say the number one game that I think it is actually negatively affecting a lot is Pokopia, like a lot. Mm-hmm. And I will say, I think they just released it at such a silly time. There's a lot of year left. And as much as I'm having fun with Champions, I just think it was too much all at once. Like they released Champions like literally like a month after Pokopia, and after they just dropped Leaf Green, Fire Red, after they just dropped XD Gale of Darkness. I'm kind of like, they haven't announced much more for this year. I'm like, why didn't you just span some of these games out? I feel like they literally have to have something else this year. And I know Game Freak is also working on that Beast of Reincarnation game. So that's taking up a little bit of their focus. But as a Pokemon player, I'm like, I hope you guys have something else this year, because if not, like these games were ready to go. You could have just spanned out the release. Like you could have waited to drop Champions till the summer. You could have waited to drop XD Gale of Darkness till the fall. Like I'm just kind of like, what were you guys thinking? I think it very much negatively affected XD Gale of Darkness. And then I'll go back to Pokopia. I don't think Leaf Green and Fire Red suffered much because those games we already know did pretty well. Mm-hmm. I think whoever was going to buy and check out Fire Red, Leaf Green, they did it. Like that was going to be what it was going to be. XD Gale of Darkness, I think, suffered because it was just put with way too much going on. Like they should have waited on that game or something. But then Pokopia is the one that like that game took everybody by storm. I'm starting to think even Game Freak didn't realize how well that game was going to do, or else I don't think they would have released it this way, because there was still so much hype surrounding that game, like up until the release of Champions, and now Champions is just taken the limelight. And I think there was a recent update from Nintendo, or maybe it was Famitsu, but either way, we saw that the game Pokopia has reached over 1 million sales like digitally, and I think it's not fully confirmed, but basically like with physical copies and digital copies, it's like past the 2 million mark is what everybody is guessing at. And that's decent, but man, this game had a lot more legs. Like I honestly think Pokopia could be one of those 10 plus million sellers just based on the initial reaction. Like so many people were excited about the game, and I think if they had waited on Champions and just let Pokopia like run its course, like at least give it a couple months, at least 2 to 3 months, like where people are sharing stuff online, like where the conversation is still going. And if they would have put more of a focus on like, okay, we're dropping this new content, and just like they are still dropping content for Pokopia, but the problem is Champions has taken all of the spotlight. And so now I don't think Pokopia is doing as well as it could have done if they would have just kept the Pokopia train going. And yeah, I don't know. It's very confusing. I think it's obviously Champions is doing incredible. It's doing very, very well. But I don't know. I gotta say, if they would have spanned this out, like they could have had 2 mega hits on their hands. I think Champions is a mega hit, but Pokopia I think was a bigger hit even. Like I don't know. I think the rollout has really hurt that game, and the conversation has just died. It's very much died around it. I'm still playing it here and there, but even for me, I've had to pivot because we're focusing on, content for a channel. Let's be real. But we were also very excited about Champions, and we wanted to get in as soon as it dropped because it's one of those games where you have to get in early. Like, you want to get in early. And just the nature of it, it kind of forced people to stop playing Pokopia if they are into VGC at all. So yeah, very strange. I think it was just a bad decision, if I'm being honest, from Game Freak and the Pokemon Company. They should have really spanned these games out, because Pokopia had the ability to do gangbusters, absolute gangbusters, and I think they literally ripped the rug out from under it. That's how I feel.
I completely agree with you. I think you're absolutely right. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head where you said Game Freak just didn't. They could have known what Pokopia was going to be, right? Like, there was just no way to know that, because we've even seen hardware sales be pushed from Pokopia, which is nuts. I mean, the amount of people that I've seen say, hey, I'm picking up a Switch 2 just for this game is crazy, and I'm sure Nintendo definitely took note of that. And what's really interesting about lastly, I guess to kind of wrap up the weird timing of it, is the fact that the mobile version of Pokemon Champions is coming later this year. I do wonder why they didn't just drop it simultaneously. Like, just hold off, 100%. Like you said. Don't drop this April 8th, not even a full, literally not a full month from Pokopia. Just hold off on it. Wait until everything's ready. Drop it all together. I mean, it's kind of baffling. But we are seeing people move to Pokemon Champions. It's a free-to-play game. It's hard not to. And like you said, this is really one of those games where everybody wants to get in on the ground floor. So, whether or not we think it's the right choice, it is the one that Game Freak went with. And they do kind of know what's going on behind the scenes more than we do, right? Maybe there are more Pokemon games at the end of this year that we just don't know of yet. It is the 30th anniversary, right? But let us know in the comment section below, what do you guys think? Do you think Pokemon Champions is just unfairly taking the spotlight? Do you think it's a good thing for Pokemon Winds and Waves, or do you think it's only going to negatively affect it? Or are you just kind of sad Pokopia didn't get its time in the sun that everyone thought it was going to have? Well, let us know down below, and thank you guys so much for watching. We are very much hoping you are enjoying these mini podcasts daily, because we are enjoying giving them to you. So thanks for watching, and Bros and Badges out.